Happy Camper Radio starts in 3, 2, 1. It's a great day to go camping. Hello, everyone. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper, and this is the Happy Camper Radio Show, episode 150. And happy belated Father's Day to all you dads out there. Guys and gals, what'd you do for your dad this past weekend? Did you take him out to dinner? Did you buy him another necktie or maybe a little wallet or something that he may have needed? You never know what dad's going to need, but, he appreciates it. You know what you can do if you haven't already done this? Why not make an extension of that gift by taking Dad camping this weekend? He would love it. Think about that, folks. It's one of the greatest gifts you could give a dad. Take him out camping because it builds wonderful memories. You set up camp. You do everything. You wash the dishes. You do what you need to do. Just make sure his camping chair or his recliner is parked conveniently right there by the campsite. All right, so he doesn't have to get up and do much of anything. Treat Dad like a king. He would really, really appreciate that. Our phone number here at the Happy Camper Radio Show is 404-537-2267. That's 404-537-CAMP. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've made it so convenient for you to connect up with us. Go to www.happycamperradio.com. You'll find all of our social media icons right there on the homepage. Just click on any one of them, and you'll connect up with us through social media. And speaking of social media, when you sign up to be a part of the Happy Camper Radio family, we're going to give you a shout-out, and we've got some fine folks right now that we want to recognize. First of all, to Brian Sullivan of Maple Grove, Minnesota, Alan Frost of Pittsville, Wisconsin. They like us on Facebook. To the fine folks at Outdoor Travel Radio, and also Augusta RV in Bristol, Indiana. They're following us on Twitter this week. Thank you all so very much. Glad to have you on board. And thank you, most important of all, for being a part of this great Happy Camper Radio family. Would you like to be on the radio show with me? As a guest, I'd love to have you. Something you want to talk about in the world of camping? Hey, I'm up for it. Get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com, and we're going to make that happen. I had to really create a path to get in the studio. I would not want to take a photograph of what the studio looks like right now. A few weeks ago, I mentioned that I'm getting a brand new radio broadcast console here in the studio. It has been ordered. I expect delivery of it next Tuesday or Wednesday at the very latest. But for the past week and a half, there have been wires everywhere, all kind of brand new digital cable that is being stretched throughout the studio. I want to say probably about 300 feet of it. And I have been very, very busy preparing for the arrival of this new console. If you've been to our website and you've taken the studio tour before, and you could take a look at this one console that we're working with, and we've been using it since day one, 3 years ago. 150 episodes. It's held up very strong. I'm actually going to be moving this console into my remote operation. So when I am out and about, when I am at a public or a private campground and I'm doing my radio show, or I may be just about anywhere outside of the studio doing Happy Camper Radio, this will now be my road console. And the brand new broadcast console that's coming this week is going to take its place. Of course, modern wiring, everything, a lot of work is going into this, and I'm sure you're going to notice the sound quality even better than it is right now. We have made so many different transitions here with Happy Camper Radio ever since day one. I never envisioned back then it would grow to be the operation that is today. I'm very excited about it. I spent a lot of time here in the studio, not just doing Happy Camper Radio, but with my voiceover profession, too. You've seen the sound booth if you've taken the studio tour. That sits directly behind me, and I'm in and out of there quite a bit, as well as spending time here at the console. So, we're constantly upgrading. We're trying to make things better, bigger and better. And I am really, really excited about this new console that's going to be arriving. I'll make sure I post some pictures of it immediately on social media as well as our homepage, so you get to take a look at it just before we get into our next episode, where we're going to introduce the brand new console. And I'll be talking more about that in the weeks ahead. On today's show, folks, I want to talk to you about picking the perfect camping destination. This may be easier said than done. If you're someone like myself and you do a lot of camping close to home, chances are that's where you're going to park your hat from here on out. In my younger years, I used to travel a lot. I had the energy to do that. But now that the kids are grown up and they're out on their own, and I pretty much go camping by myself, unless, of course, some friends say, hey, let's get together this weekend, maybe go camping somewhere. I will go ahead and meet up with them. But still, I have my own tent and I have my own gear, and I bring a lot of it. If you've seen the pictures of the back of my pickup truck, it is completely loaded with camping gear for a one-man show anytime I go out. That's just the way I travel. But I really don't get into traveling that far away anymore. It makes it a little more difficult, with pets being around the house and other things to do, other obligations. I don't really have the time to get away for a week or even 2 weeks for that matter. So I try to keep my, camping trips very short, and I try not to overdo it in any way, shape, or form. I don't want to go camping and being exhausted while I'm there, and I don't want to come home after putting all of the gear away and being exhausted as well. So I try to keep the trips kind of short and close to home. How far would you plan on going away for a weekend trip? Now, maybe you are a weekender just like myself. I try to limit my distance, I would say 100 miles. I have traveled that far away before and still had a wonderful weekend and still had plenty of time to spend by the lake at the campground. And even if I decided to get out and maybe take a walk on a nature trail somewhere, I still had time to do that. And I didn't wear myself out. Personally, I think 100 miles is not too far to travel. Case in point, here we're living in the metro Atlanta area. We're in a little town called Snellville, which is just to the east of downtown Atlanta. There is a place that I have camped on a number of occasions that's about a 100-mile drive southwest of Atlanta called West Point Lake. If you're ever in South Georgia or Alabama, right in that area down there, consider West Point Lake. They've got some beautiful sites. It's excellent this time of year. Beautiful lake, lots of camping destinations, a lot of things to see and do. It's a great place to go camping, and I don't really consider that to be too far away for a weekend trip. Now, maybe you do have campgrounds in the area where you live, and maybe you have one or two that you pretty much stick with all the time. If it's a private-owned campground, I'm sure that they enjoy your hospitality and your company and everything that you have to offer when you come to visit that campground. All right? But still, there's other places around you may want to consider visiting every now and then. So, don't be afraid to get out and about and, take some time to enjoy the view and the sights and the sounds. Your kids will enjoy it too. That's one of the neat things about having the internet these days, especially at home, because you can do your research way far in advance. You can search for a campground and identify campgrounds in your area you probably didn't even know existed. And the neat thing about the internet, too, if these campgrounds that are being advertised for individuals like yourself looking for a place to go camping, chances are they're going to have photos, they're going to have videos, they're going to have all the information, everything that you can take in, all the sights and sounds. So when you do get there, you can say, wow, I've never knew this place existed. I have got to come back here again. Sure, that's what they want you to do. And a lot of these campgrounds, I don't care if it's a private campground or a public campground, they're pretty much kept well, neat, and clean. You don't want to go camping at a dirty campground. You don't want to go camping at a place where, things are just out of order, in disarray, and, that nobody is friendly. Of course, I've never run into any of those situations before. Every time I go camping with somebody, I am just so happy to be meeting some of the nicest people in the world. You're going to find them at a public or private campground. I'm going to have to get my brother back on the show because one thing I've never talked about before, and I think about this every now and then, and of course, when I get together with him, the conversation comes up. We're both much older, but in our younger years, we used to go camping with our grandparents. Now, I am the oldest of 5. And we were all very young back then. I guess I was maybe in middle school at that time, but, my brothers and sisters were much younger. My grandmother would take us camping every single year, and she would rent a little Scotty trailer. Now, if you don't know what a Scotty trailer is, look it up online. I'm sure you can find some pictures. I don't even know if they make them anymore. But you can pretty much envision a Scotty trailer being maybe an upgrade from a teardrop camper. It's very small. Still, my grandfather, which was about a 300-pound heart of gold individual, was able to get in there. My grandmother got in there, and all 5 of us kids managed to cram into that Scotty trailer. And that's where we went camping every single year. She would rent one of those trailers. I'm surprised they never bought one. But we would go camping, and we had a lot of fun. The thing I did not like, and of course, I didn't have much say-so. Of course, I wasn't paying for anything. But the fact is, when we went camping, I could not stand the long-distance trip. You know how kids can be? Are you there yet? Are we there yet? Yeah. Now your kids are beating that into your head. You know what it's like? They don't like traveling on the road. They want to get to their destination. They want to have fun. And, and I think about that sometimes today. There's some wonderful places I'd like to go. But unless I'm going to spend some extended time there, I'm not going to really spend a whole lot of time on the road traveling to get there. Again, today, many of these campgrounds, wherever they're going to be, you're going to have websites and check them out. Feel free to call the campground if you have any questions. A lot of them are going to have a telephone number where you can reach somebody. Somebody's going to pick up the phone. You're going to find a live person there. So, feel free to ask the questions. Anything that's related to camping, anything that they can help you out with. And definitely, folks, consider making your reservations far in advance. We just got done with the Memorial Day camping weekend. Wow, what a weekend that was. Now we've got the 4th of July coming up. And if I remember correctly, I think the 4th of July falls on a Monday this year, which means there are going to be extended weekend camp outings for a lot of people. Here we are, we're pretty much approaching the end of July. And if you haven't already made your reservations for a weekend camping trip for the 4th of July, you may be out of luck. Maybe not, but get on the phone, get on the website, find out what you can, and there might be a spot or two out there for you to go ahead and get with your family and be around some other campers on the 4th of July. You'd be surprised that some of these campgrounds will have nearby firework displays that they can direct you to. Everybody wants to see the fireworks on the 4th of July, and everybody is out and about. So I do expect a lot of people to make a 4-day weekend out of it. In other words, leave on a Thursday night as opposed to a Friday. Everybody who leaves on Friday is going to hit that rush hour traffic because everyone is in a hurry to get out of town. No, me, I am in a hurry to get home. If I'm going to go camping on the 4th of July weekend, it probably will be out in my backyard. And I can have just as much fun there, too. Getting out, setting up the tent, having the cats come on over and, just relaxing. But that's me. A lot of people do want to get out there to the campground. They want to be by the lake. They want to take in the sights and sounds. They want to go hiking. They want to do all kinds of things. I can't blame them. But, the key is to make your reservations as far in advance as you possibly can because everybody who goes camping on the 4th of July weekend is going to be thinking just like you. They're going to want to get out. They're going to want to make the reservations early. And you don't want to not make a reservations and just show up and hoping there's going to be a spot there for you because you may be out of luck. So, definitely do your research ahead of time. And if you can get that extra day in, take an extra day off from work if you're going to be off Monday anyhow, then why not leave out on a Thursday? Don't forget some of the rural campgrounds. Maybe a lot of the popular ones are going to be taken up. They're going to be filled to capacity. But if you still want to go camping, you may have to venture out a little bit. You may have to make that 100-mile drive somewhere to get to wherever you need to go. Don't be afraid to do that. If you find someplace maybe 80 or 100 miles away and you're going to be camping for 4 days, why not? You're probably going to find some people there just as friendly as you would that if you went maybe by the big lake to one of the real popular campgrounds. So don't be afraid to get out, and definitely be careful while you're traveling too. There's a lot of people going to be out on the roads, and a lot of people going to be getting an early start, and you're going to be out there right along with them. The neat thing about campgrounds, both public and private, is they've got playgrounds for the kids. Just about every campground I have ever been to is kid-friendly, and that's what draws people into those campgrounds. Now, let's talk about public and private campgrounds here and the difference between the two. First of all, you're going to find greater hospitality when camping at a privately owned campground. And I'm speaking from experience here because I've been to both many, many times throughout the years. One thing about private campgrounds is they count on repeat business. They count on folks just like you to have an absolute wonderful time and be able to leave their facility, go home, talk it up, show off the pictures, show off all the videos to your friends and family. Let them see what a wonderful time you had. And the next thing you know it, they're going to be making reservations at that same private campground to enjoy the weekend that you had. The campground owners are going to go out of their way to exceed your expectations. Now, many of them, if not all, are family-oriented. Like I said, I can't recall a campground I have been to that I didn't find some sort of a playground there for the kids. And they try to keep the speed limit throughout the campgrounds at a very minimum, maybe like 5 miles per hour. And I think for the most part, people do obey those because kids are walking around, people are walking their dogs, they're out there about, doing what they need to do. And, you definitely don't want to have an accident or run into somebody and, make a weekend vacation turn into some sort of a tragedy. You don't want to have that happen at all. So, definitely if you're going to be going camping, take your time. I don't care what kind of problems you had or, if you had a breakdown or something that set you back and you're just dying to get to camp and to get your things all set up there, take your time once you enter the campground itself because there are going to be a lot of folks walking around, and you just keep your eyes and ears open and watch for kids on the run too. Because sometimes they do get away from their parents and they may run up and cross the street. You just got to be very, very careful about that. I haven't run into any problems in all the years I have been camping, and I don't want to think that something like that may happen. Now, a lot of your private campgrounds, too, are going to have convenience stores right on site. Although I encourage everybody to plan ahead, buy everything you need before you get there. All your food, everything that you need, so you don't need to be running out. That's going to take away from the fun, from the activities, the relaxation. Make sure you have everything you need before you arrive at camp. But in some cases, you're going to find that you get there and you maybe forgot to buy a loaf of bread. Maybe you need some paper plates. A lot of these campgrounds are going to have convenience stores right there on site, so you don't have to leave the campground and you can buy whatever you need right there, things that you may have forgotten. Your public campgrounds, now some of these are seasonal. A lot of the recreation.gov campgrounds that we talk about at the end of the show are going to be seasonal, even though there are some that are open year-round. They have fewer amenities than, say, the private campgrounds do. Because, again, like I said, the private campgrounds do go out of their way to make sure that their campers, their guests have everything they need and everything they need to have a wonderful time. And some of these campgrounds, the private campgrounds, are going to have campground hosts, or what they often referred to as campground workers. And they basically set up shop for maybe about 3 months, and they do what they need to do. They get their rent and everything paid for, but they're pretty much like the groundskeeper. They're the campground host. They show people around. They answer questions. Maybe they have some minor chores and everything that they have to do as part of their keep, and that's okay too. But, it's always great to have somebody there that can answer your questions, maybe point you in the right direction, tell you about some nearby activities, things that are going on around the area that you may not have known about. And, the campground hosts that I've run into are just wonderful people. And, you'll find them also at a lot of your public campgrounds. And again, most of these are very well cleaned and well kept. So, your private and public campgrounds, wherever you go camping, most likely you're going to have an absolute wonderful time. Again, I encourage you, plan your activities in advance. Again, this is where a Google search comes in real handy. And, one of the things you want to do today, folks, especially with the temperatures being like they are, we're into summer now. Yeah, summer came in about, maybe 3 or 4 nights ago. All right, the bugs are out. So make sure you bring your bug spray and your sunscreen. 2 things that you are not going to have fun with are the bugs and the sun beating down on your head, especially this time of year. Look what's happening out west again. We got wildfires out there. This is what happens, folks, when the weather gets hot and the humidity is not in the air and we don't have any rain. Some places you may end up going camping if you're out west and come to find out there is a total burn ban in place. In other words, you can't even build a campfire. I have been in situations like that before where there is a total burn ban. I'm not saying that I didn't have fun. I would much prefer to have a campfire to be sitting by at the end of the night. I think that's the highlight out of any camping trip, is to have your campfire, whether you're sitting there by yourself or enjoying company sitting beside you. But that does happen. I don't think it would stop me from going camping if I was in one of those situations before. But the way things are this time of year, California's got some wildfires again they're dealing with, and my thoughts and prayers to those folks out there. It's something that happens far, far too many times. Keeping your kids occupied is also something very important you want to do. Plan to spend quality time with your family. Don't just focus on your interests while you're going camping. You may plan for some rest, but your kids are not going to have any rest on their mind. They're going to be full of energy. They're going to have an abundance of it. But anytime you go camping and you're taking your kids out with you, you definitely want to show them a wonderful time, but also let them help decide what you're going to do while you're camping. Take a look at some of the activities that are going on around your campground and share these with the kids and decide, well, maybe we should see this instead of going over to see that. They love to take part in everything you do. So Dad, Mom, you don't have to do it all by yourself. If you've got kids in the family, you're going to want them to have just as much fun as you are. So take the time to sit down with them, go online, do your research, see what's happening in the area around where you're camping. If there's any activities, especially like I say with the 4th of July weekend coming up, you definitely want to go out and see a firework display. Maybe there's going to be some 4th of July parades in the area. You never know. Reserve your evening hours for rest and relaxation around the campfire. If you come there to relax and you've got your kids with you, let them run it off during the day. They're going to sleep so good at night, and you'll sleep well too. Some family activities that you may want to consider while you're out and about. Consider a trip to an amusement park. I've never heard a kid say no to an amusement park. How about some sightseeing? See what's happening in the area. Maybe there's a local zoo or an animal sanctuary. Right down the road here from our studio, we have the Yellow River Game Ranch. And it is a wonderful place to get away. Just for the afternoon, if you love being around wildlife, it is just, the place is golden in my book. And it only costs a few bucks to get in there, and you can spend all day just walking and being around the animals. Deer walk freely. You could pick up some food right there at the counter and, feed the animals as you're moving along. Consider maybe a museum or historical site. How about a trip to the beach? A lot of people, when they go camping these days, they like to take in the beach. And if there's a big lake there, some people like swimming and, boating and doing whatever they need to do. And some people like camping by the lake. I personally, with this type of weather, prefer to be under a tree with a lot of shade. Maybe you're not like that, though, okay? But you'll find that there's some great places out there to visit and some great sites at the campground, some of which will be by the lake, some will be in a well-shaded area. The choice is yours. Just make those reservations far in advance. Another thing you may want to take in while you're out and about, consider taking the kids on a train ride. A couple years ago, in fact, I still have a video out at happycamperradio.com. When I went up to North Georgia, I took a ride on the Blue Ridge Scenic Railway. It was summertime, and it made the very best of my outdoor activity. Unless you're camping alone, you don't need to spend all your time at camp. Granted, I do like to get a lot of rest and relaxation, but, take some time to get out there and spend it with the family and make the best of your weekend, your week-long camping outing, or, 2 weeks, whatever you're going to be going camping for. Consider also the dangers of water. Folks, I don't need to remind you about what happened in Florida here about 2 weeks ago. That was a terrible, terrible thing. A family from Nebraska comes to Disney World. They're there to have a weekend vacation or however long they planned on staying. And mom, dad, and 2 kids, and unfortunately, they're coming back with only 1 child. It's one of the most heartbreaking stories I have ever experienced. And, you got to be careful when you're around water. Kids are attracted to water. Do your research ahead of time, folks, and make sure that where you're camping at, there are no hidden dangers that you're not going to be aware of. You might want to ask, are there any reptiles in this area, things to be concerned with, like alligators, deadly snakes like water moccasins, and there's a lot of them out there. You got your rattlesnakes and coral snakes and copperheads, and you don't necessarily have to be around water for that. You may be out on a hiking trail somewhere and, unexpectedly encounter one of these snakes, and you don't want to step on them. You don't want to come up on them accidentally. You want to keep your eyes and ears open. Contact your state and regional wildlife authorities for information. Are there any venomous spiders out there you need to be aware of? Other wildlife issues like bear sightings. Talk to your state and local authorities beforehand and see if they can make you aware of anything that you need to be concerned about before you go camping. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show.
Yep.
As I mentioned, camping is in abundance right now. Just about anywhere you want to go, the weather is beautiful. And this week, I'm going to take you to the state of South Carolina to the Modoc Campground. It's part of the J. Strom Thurmond Lake run by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It's a very popular park on Strom Thurmond Lake and located just 5 miles from the Thurmond Visitor Center and Dam. It's a 70,000-acre lake, and its 1,000-plus miles of shoreline provides excellent boating, water, skiing, swimming, fishing, hiking, things like that, picnicking, you name it. And the hot summers and mild, pleasant winters categorize this heavily wooded area on the shores of Thurmond Lake. Mixed pine and hardwood forests cover the site, providing summer shade and fall color. My type of camping. The campground is made up of 2 peninsulas. It contains 68 sites with electrical hookups and 1 primitive site. Each peninsula has a boat ramp, a playground, hiking trail, and beautiful views of the lake. Other amenities include flush toilets, vault toilets, drinking water, showers, laundry facilities, and, of course, a dump station. A lot of information is right there on their website, including some photographs you can take a look at. I'll have a link to it all week long under the featured campground button on our homepage. Go to Happy Camper Radio. You'll find it right there. Check out some of the things you need to know before you go. There's even a phone number you need to call in the event you have any questions. Remember, purchase all your firewood locally, burn it locally. Save your forest from those pesky little insects that have a tendency to destroy the forest and the environment. Always purchase your firewood locally. It's a great place to go camping this time of the year, and it's open all the way through Saturday, October the 1st of this year. Consider Modoc Lake in South Carolina. It is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And, of course, if you have a campground that you'd like for us to feature on the program, I want you to get in touch with me, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com. Make sure you include a link to the campground website. Well, folks, that's about all the time I have for this week's show. And I've got to get back underneath the console. I got some more wires to string in preparation for our new broadcast console. I am so excited about this. Coming to the studios of Happy Camper Radio. Remember, folks, every pet deserves a loving home. I want you to do exactly like I did. Visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. You can find us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, add us to Circles on Google+, and now subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. And no question about it, my friends, I'm going to do my very best to make a happy camper out of you. Have a good one. We'll talk to you again soon. This is Happy Camper Radio.